great-grandfather is.
Okay. Welcome to the historic Munlin Cemetery. And what better place to start at the grave of Elder Aaron Munlin. But before we talk about Elder Aaron Mullin, I want everyone to know in Facebook land and all around, we are surrounded by love. These love bugs here are just really having a feast, and we can't be mad at them because you know love carries the world. So love bugs, enjoy yourself. All right. So Aaron Mullin, as we know, was born in South Carolina. And in 1856, when he was around 8 years old, his mother Hannah, who was in her 30s, his sister Gracie Mullin and Dinah Mullin, and his brother Anthony McCray traveled by train to Bullock County, Georgia, to a new life. It is said that Hannah never married again, and Johnny Mullin, who was the husband, stayed in South Carolina, and some of them never saw each other again. There were 3 plantations in South Carolina that were in proximity to each other. There was the Munlin plantation, there was a McCray plantation, and there was a Collins plantation, and Collins was a gentleman who married Neil McCray's daughter. And so that's how the Collins part got involved. Aaron Munlin came over, became a member of the Neville's Creek Primitive Baptist Church, married Lucinda Groover in 1870, and lived a wonderful life. He is important to us because he wrote an autobiography which explained about his life in South Carolina, his leaving South Carolina, never to see some of his relatives again, coming over to Bullock County, working and being hired out to several individuals, and then in 1865 he was hired out when freedom came. As some of you may know, Aaron was a fiddle player. He really struggled with that as he thought eventually that interfered with his Christian relationship. But he was a well-known fiddle player. Lucinda Groover is related to a lot of the Groovers around the Johnson Grove Primitive Baptist Church. In fact, there's a Prince Groover there in the cemetery, born in 1790, that has connection to this family who lived to be 100 years old. Yes, sir.
I would like to.
This is Mr. Amos Stobridge, and he has been a caretaker here at the Munlin Cemetery. He is connected to the Mullin family. Ms. Gertrude is his mother, and Mr. S.J. Stobridge is his father, and Ms. Gertrude Stobridge was a Riggs.
Right.
She was the daughter of Jimmy Riggs and Lou Vinci Munlin. So there is his connection to the Riggs and the Mullins. So,
and what I wanted to maybe I ain't saying the right word, paraphrase. Before my mother died, she wanted the rest of the family connected to know who they were through the Groovers.
yes, sir.
So I found the Groovers.
Yes,
They is between here and Savannah, Georgia. If you go down till you get to 119, 119, you make a right, you go over I-16, and the first road you get to, make a left, and that whole area, they probably about maybe 1,000 acres out in that, belongs to the group.
What county is that in? Is it in Bullock County or
No, it's
Bryant
not in
County
Bullock
or
County.
Effingham County?
Is it Brown?
I don't know what county. Brown County, I think that's Brown County.
Bryan County, okay.
That's the area that they is in. And it's the whole Reverend Mike Patton. He, you know, what the pastor named the Groover. I mean, he's not a Groover. His wife is a Groover. You know, she's sick now. He's sick now.
Where is he a pastor at now?
He's not, because he's sick, but I can't remember. Oh, good.
But the Groover family was connected to some of those Groovers down in Bryan County. But there was also an area here called Rocky Ford that is not the Rocky Ford, but around Johnson Grove Church, and many of the early Groovers are related there. And then and then a few of the Groovers are up in Jenkins County also.
Right.
So it's a large family of them. Many of them originated from a Prince Groover. Okay, so thank you for that addition. All right. So this is Mary Lucinda Groover, members of the church at Neville's Creek, and when in 1879 they became members of Banks Creek. Her mother, Patsy Groover, was also a member at the Banks Creek Primitive Baptist Church. And again, this is his mother, who was one of the earliest burials here in the Munlin Cemetery. Now let's go over and talk about Herschel Smith. There are several unmarked graves here that we do need to get the names of. Okay, now this is the grave of Herschel Smith. If you recall, he was a minister at Banks Creek for 16 years. Herschel Smith, who was born in 1875 and died in 1964. He was actually living in this area when he died in 64. He married a lady named Jeannie. Jeannie was a Curry, and they came out of Wrightsville, Georgia, Johnson County. And they had a number of children. And if you look to the left, my left, your right, these graves are the children of Jeannie and Elder Herschel Smith. And also far over here is an Isaiah Curry, who is related to a Jeannie Curry. That is correct. And Jeannie's mother name was Alice Curry. She was born during slavery time. So I wanted to call this, so even though Elder Herschel Smith was from Jefferson County, moved to this area, he became associated with the with the Banks Creek Primitive Baptist Church and chose to be buried here as his children. And Jeannie Curry, I believe that's her brother there in this cemetery. Okay, now next has Isaiah Curry. These are some graves that need to be identified. Do you know who these graves are?
They all connected with the Smith. They married into the Smith family.
But you don't know the names specifically?
I don't know the name.
Okay. All right.
Most of the family is dead. I don't know how I can pull it up now.
Okay. All right. So let's go over here. These are all Smiths. These are children of Herschel Smith and Jeannie Curry Smith.
Correction. This is Robert Munlin. I mean, what it is?
Aaron Munlin and
Aaron
Maybelle's
Munlin.
children.
This is his twin.
Yes.
Died in
27.
Yeah.
Okay.
This Roy Munlin.
Son died in 39.
Yeah.
So it's good to see some of these earlier graves. These were previously unmarked and recently have been marked. Do you know whose grave that is?
It's in the Munlin family, but I can't remember who it is.
Do you know
Trying to
any
get
of
them all
those
right
graves
there.
there?
Time is that.
Okay. All right.
Now, first I know we got 2 aunts buried out here, but we don't know where the graves are. All we know is somewhere in this area.
Okay, and so one of the aunts you may be talking about is Laura. Laura Jane Munlin, who first married a Bell, James Bell. James Bell was born in North Carolina in 1847, and as part of the turpentine industry, he migrated to the area and married Laura Jane Munlin. He died before 1920, and later Laura Munlin married George Lee. She died in 1931 and is buried somewhere in this cemetery. So that's one of the aunts you're talking about. And I don't know exactly where her grave is, but I know she's buried here, and I know she died in 31. And when she died, she was a widow of George Lee, who had previously died before her, and that was her second marriage.
And the two that I'm talking about was my mother's two sisters.
Oh,
one died with what they call it, malaria fever, and the other one died with
one was burned. One
burnt to death.
They was burnt to death. Her dress caught fire and she ran, and they couldn't catch her.
Right.
Yeah.
So they is out here, but I don't.
Yeah.
Been able to pick up the location.
Yeah, and
I know
it's probably going to be in this area here.
Yeah.
Want to call your attention to Jimmy Riggs, connected to the Riggs family, connected to Dan Riggs, on whose land the Willow Hill School was founded, connected to Eliza Riggs, who married Elder Washington Hodges. These were all brothers and sisters, and they were children of Harriet Riggs, the slave woman born in 1820. In fact, the Riggs children, if you look at the records, and were sold on the courthouse steps of Bullock County. That is what the records report. Not the current building, but the building before that term. Okay, so this is James Riggs, born around 1871. Some have a little different dates on him. He married Hannah Luvency Riggs. This is Aaron Munlin's daughter. And they had a number of children. But he was a clerk at the Banks Creek Primitive Baptist Church and had some of the most beautiful handwriting you ever want to see. Had great penmanship. In fact, when you read and look at his records, you are impressed and amazed at the formation of his letters. And so these are, he was a Munlin, okay? Now, while we're here, this is what we talked about. Brother Jack Mullin, the son of Aaron Munlin, who was also a minister at the Banks Creek Primitive Baptist Church. He died in 1960, born around 1892. And he married Maybelle. Maybelle was a Duggar, and they came from around the Beth Haven Primitive Baptist Church. And there were several of the Duggar sisters who married, one of the sisters married Willie Munlin. And so they were all tied in. And one of the Bells married another Duggar who was Sarah. And Sister Maybelle, I remember her very well. Had hair to come down here. Had long hair and used to walk on the Banks Creek Primitive Baptist Church. They had several children, and many of their children moved to Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio area. Okay, this is Elder Brother Jack. This is the one who used to come and visit my grandmother and love that chicken. He loved the chicken now. Elder, they call him Brother Jack. And Brother Jack was a great and powerful speaker. Okay, now here, this is all related to Ella Lovett. I remember her as well. Ella Lovett was a short lady that had a ball on the back of her head, long dresses, used to walk on the grounds of the Banks Creek Primitive Baptist Church. In fact, the current Banks Creek building was a vision she had in terms of helping to build that building. She was born around 1883, married a Willie Munlin, and Willie Munlin family is from Burke County, the Lovetts. Willie Lovett. I'm sorry, not Munlin. She was a Munlin, Willie Lovett. And when you see Naomi Johnson's, this is their daughter-in-law, George Lovett, Fred Lovett, Grady Lovett, all those Lovetts are children of Ella Lovett. Those of you who know Emma Jones, Emma Lovett Jones was also a daughter. Gracie Munlin, Lovett was also a daughter as well. So this lady was a very important person in the church, and she loved the church, and Aaron Munlin was her father. Okay, and this is Rufus Lovett, and those of you who know Ernest Lovett up at Portal, this is Ernest Lovett's father, Rufus Lovett. Okay. And Rufus Lovett married a Miller, okay? He died early around 1937, 1938, and the mother, who later married a kitchen, raised these young people herself and did a wonderful job. This is Rufus Lovett. In fact, Cousin Hannah was one of the, Cousin Hannah Stobridge, who is your sister, Brother Amos, one of the first funerals she ever attended was Willie and Rufus, and she said that Rufus was a very, very fair-skinned Willie was a very, very fair-skinned person, and she thought she was looking at a white man when she looked in the casket to see him, and that was her earliest memory. And she was born in 27, and she's buried over there, and she married into the Williams and the Littles families. Now, this is the grave of James Bell. I wonder, and I do not know for sure, is this the James Bell that came from North Carolina, was born in 1847, and got to be buried here because the Munlin Cemetery was already here, started in the 1890s. He died somewhere between 1915 and 1920. So the name James is written here. So I wonder, this was the one who married Laura James Munlin. So I'm thinking this is him. I do not know that for sure, but I'm thinking that was him. That he should have been buried here. And the other reason is he's next to Brooks Bell. Brooks Bell would have been a son. And Brooks Bell married Harriet Bennett, related to those Bennetts, Dolly Bennett, Ann Bennett, and all those Bennetts around Portland. Harriet Bennett is their sister. She's the sister of Dolly Bennett, Annie Bennett, etc. And this is also the son, Brooks Bell, and this is Brooks Bell's son, Benny Bell. And Benny had lived in the Macon area and also in California. And he and his wife both chose to come home to rest with the ancestors. Okay. And married Maybelle Douglas, and Maybelle and Maddie were sisters. And there was another sister, Sarah Douglas, who married a Bell into that family there. And these little young people, Mr. Stobridge, you can tell us this
Those
is all.
are my grands.
These are your grandchildren.
Yeah, my grandchildren.
Okay, this is Mr. Amos Stobridge's grandchildren. Now, which one of your children did these belong to?
These two belong to Janie. Janie Stobridge. Janie is this is her son, and this is her granddaughter.
Okay. Do you know anything about this one here? This is a Stobridge as well.
That's my two brothers and sisters.
These are your brothers and sisters.
Right.
Oh, those were, I heard about those last children your mom had that didn't make it. Cousin Hannah told me about them.
That's them right there.
They're there. Well, thank y'all for getting that marked. And here is your mama, Gertrude.
Right.
And this Lucinda Riggs, and your father, Brother Shelley Stobridge. Right. He was also a clerk at Banks Street Primitive Baptist Church, and she was one of the powerful sisters. Long dress lady at one time. Wear that long old dress. Y'all remember that? Yes. Okay. Let's first call Hannah Munlin. Hannah Munlin, we call your name.
Hannah Mullin, we call your name.
We will not forget you.
We will not forget you.
We know all the labors you did, leaving your family in South Carolina, coming to Bullock County, Georgia, leaving your husband and your people, never to see them again. How could we forget you, Hannah? Yeah. And Hannah, we thank you for your son, Aaron Mullin. Aaron Mullin, we call your name.
Aaron Mullin, we call your name.
Founder of Banks Creek Primitive Baptist Church, one of the founders of the Mount Pleasant Association of Primitive Baptists, and a leader and a preacher at Mount Pisgah and Old Bethel Church. We call your name Elder Munlin.
Elder Munlin.
Elder Munlin.
And Lucindy Groover Munlin, we call your name as a helpmate to Elder Munlin. Lucindy Groover, we call your name.
Lucindy Groover, we call your name.
Okay, now this lady is
that's my sister. That's Hannah.
Yes.
You know her.
Oh yes.
This is.
You know this lady? I know it.
She cooked you no greens.
I went by her house and she had that good old sweet potato and them greens, and ooh, that was a nice meal. I really appreciate that.
And this is her husband.
And that's her husband, Williams, who is related to the Littles family. They connected to the Jack Littles people over at Fish Trap Primitive Baptist Church.
That's correct.
And but I've interviewed Cousin Hannah a number of times, and she's given me a lot of information on the family, and so I am so pleased to stand here at your head and remembering on that day about 4 years ago when you fed me so well and you let me hold that recording and record your history. Also, you gave me your diploma. The Tommy Thomas, who is a minister in the Primitive Baptist Church. In fact, he preached at Banks Creek as well. Died tragically in 1955, born around 1915. But he was a great person in the Primitive Baptist Church, and he pastored over around Beth Haven Church as well. And so Elder Tommy Thomas and Sister Susie Thomas, and if we Green Warner, born in 1911 and died in 2012. I sat at this lady's feet many, many days, and I have recorded her story so many times. And she told me about her family history. She told me about the Groovers. She told me about the white connection into the family. And she had many, many wonderful stories, and I do appreciate her. She married a Green first, and then later married a Warner. That was her last husband. And
Richard Green.
Richard Green, and
Richard
has a son, is a deacon at Banks Creek. Okay, so now
this is his wife's grave, and you know.
Who is this pastor? Who's this?
James Green.
Okay. Oh, this is James Green's wife. Is that Evelyn Green?
Right.
Okay. All right, so this is Evelyn Green, and this is the space that
We're here.
Does anybody know who that grave is there?
Yes,
Who is that?
that's Cousin Gordon's oldest child.
Gordon.
Love it.
Oh, okay. That's a recent grave then, huh?
Yeah, it's about, I don't know, maybe about 4 years.
Do you know who Gordon Lovett's oldest child was?
I don't. That child was had out of wedlock.
Okay.
So I don't.
It wasn't Naomi's child.
No,
Okay. You don't know who the mother was?
no, I don't.
Okay. All righty. Let me see. Gail, you need some. How you doing?
All right, about you.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Yeah.
Just have some of the Stobridges over here too.
Right. That's my brother's over there.
Okay.
And his wife.
Let's go over here first and then move this way.
Okay.
Whose grave is this?
That's what her name?
Ella Roundtree Mosley.
She's a Mosley. This is Carrie Mosley's daughter-in-law.
Okay.
That's Tommy's wife.
All right.
Tommy
So,
Mosley's wife.
okay, Tommy. Oh, she died recently. I remember she was in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. I remember her. I met her up in Ohio, Cincinnati. She came to James, cousin James Lee's wife.
Yeah.
Yes.
We were all up.
Okay, so here we have some more Stobridges. So tell us about this.
All right, this is James Stobridge. This is my oldest brother, and this is his wife.
What was her maiden name?
She was Steplight.
The Steplight. Okay.
Yeah. And she married a Stobridge.
Okay. Now who we got over here?
That's Robert.
Can you stand behind the grave when you're
John
talking
Henry.
about it, please?
The second oldest.
That's Robert John Henry Stobridge. He's my second oldest brother. This is my first oldest brother. This is my second oldest brother.
How many children did cousin Gertrude and cousin S.J. Stobridge have?
She had 7 plus the 2 deceased.
She had 7 plus 2. She was a mother of 9 children.
Right.
Okay. And how many of them are still?
No, wait.
No, it's 5.
5. I thought it was
7. 7 in all.
7 in all, but 2
Okay.
died.
2 died as
But she
children.
didn't wait, right.
And then so there was 5, and the 5 were these 2, and then who was, and your mama Hannah, that's 3,
Yeah.
and then you 4. Who's the 5th?
Lonnie.
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 He
Okay.
live in
So there's Lonnie Stobridge. Okay. Thank y'all.
All right.
And this is Tommy Moses' wife.
Yeah.
Tommy Jr.
Tommy Jr.
Yeah, Tommy Mosley Jr.
Tommy Moses got it distinguished from Tommy Sr. Yeah,
And
got
this
that right.
grave, this is Leroy Bird.
Okay.
We better known, we call him Pete.
Okay.
This is Leroy.
Was he the one that lived over in Meadoway? Or was he live
No,
up north?
That's him right there. That
Over
was
by
Bill.
Meadow?
But they brothers.
Okay.
This is one of the older brothers.
Was he the one in Pennsylvania? Where
Yeah.
He was up
yeah.
at Pennsylvania. A lot of the family
No,
went
I'm sorry, not Pennsylvania. I get it right. Ohio.
Ohio.
He lived in Ohio.
Okay, because a lot of the family
Yeah.
did go to
Yeah,
Pennsylvania. Okay, so this grave here, this is Cousin Carrie Mosley, isn't it?
Right.
And I had the honor to interview Cousin Carrie Mosley, and she married Cousin Tommy,
And this is her brother.
and this is her brother
Yeah.
Leroy
Yeah.
Bird, and they are the children of Dolly Bird
Right there.
John,
and John Bird.
yeah, that's still right.
And Cousin Dolly and Cousin Darvin were twin,
Right.
okay? And these are your people.
Right.
All right, you want to talk, anything you want to share about your ancestors? Well, I was over at Cousin Dolly Bennett's house many years ago. That's before they built the new house. And Cousin Carrie and Cousin Dolly was there, so I had a chance to interview some of her voice that we saved over time. Okay. So, but yes, she was a twin, and her brother died much earlier. I think he died around 64, but she lived to be much older than him. And I remember going to Cousin Darvin's funeral, and just the reaction that she had toward her twin brothers is a thought that will register in my mind, just to see when you come in the world together, to see one separate from the other. All of these were great members
And
of
this
the.
is her son. This is one of Dolly's sons. Bill.
Oh,
Bill.
Bill. This is the one that lived in
Meadow.
Meadow.
Yeah,
Okay,
Meadow.
I knew somebody
He was
lived
a
in
truck
Meadow.
driver.
Yeah, that's
The
one
truck driver, and this is the spot for his wife.
Right.
Okay, and Doy and Carrie are brothers and sisters.
Right.
Correct.
And then Pete is also the other brother.
Other brother.
Okay. Dolly Lou. Now where's Cousin Dob? And he married Lonnie Donaldson.
This is it right
Right
here.
here, it'd be right in here somewhere.
Is this it?
That's it.
All right, so Lonnie Donaldson, they live right down from where the McFadders live in that house.
Right.
And Lonnie Donaldson is the daughter of George Donaldson of the Willow Hill community. And George Donaldson came from Andrew Donaldson, the patriarch of all the Donaldsons. And so these are cousins, my grandmother and her first cousins. And so that's Cousin Lonnie.
And the small grave is Beatrice. That's her, what is it, son, daughter? Son. Yeah.
Infant baby Mosley, born October the 1st and died October the 1st.
That's Beatrice Mosley. Robert Mosley, that's his
Brother.
Brother.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Cousin B child.
Right.
Okay. And Cousin B is the daughter of Cousin Lonnie.
Right.
There was two girls, Cousin B and Cousin Honey.
And this is the son.
Okay, Darvin Riggs Jr., yes.
Right.
And then there's a Paul Riggs someplace.
Right there.
Okay,
Paul Reed,
Paul.
yeah.
Okay.
He's the son of Darvin.
The son of Darvin Riggs. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is Darvin Riggs' son. Darvin Riggs, what it is?
Junior.
This is his son.
What's his name?
Randy.
We always call him Randy.
Randy.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this is your sister here, isn't it?
Yeah, that is.
This is Lanny Joe,
Lanny Jo
Commissioner
Moses
Ray
Scott.
Moses. This is all the sisters. She was a clerk at the Banks Creek Primitive Baptist
Let's go
Church.
back to them.
Yeah.
The daughter.
It goes back to
His
exactly
granddaughter.
granddaughter. So to all of you today that we have visited, we are grateful for the work that you've done. There's an old expression which says, may the work we've done, let it speak for us. So your work and your work are speaking today. And thank you for allowing us to come and be a part of you. Because as I've said before, in our tradition, you are not truly dead until they stop calling your name. And your names we will continue to call. Thank you so much. Now we will go to the Hodges Cemetery.
And again, I don't know what I told you all, but that is the tree that was at the starting of the cemetery up there. That's it right there.
All right, that is the original
With
tree,
the
the crepe
flowers
mode. Okay. Well, thank y'all so much, and we appreciate that, and hopefully y'all can join us at the Hodges Cemetery.